right, let's jump right in. You know, when you're looking at a map, some questions just kind of pop out at you. And one of the biggest has to be right there, where Europe and Africa practically kiss. It's that tiny sliver of water, the Strait of Gibraltar. And for decades, if not centuries, people have been asking a very simple question that has a wildly complex answer. Why can't we just, build a bridge? I mean, just look at it. At its skinniest point, it's just under 9 miles across. You can literally stand on a beach in Spain and see the mountains of Morocco. It feels so close, so ridiculously possible to connect. So what on earth is stopping us?
And that right there, that's the central mystery we're going to unravel. On the surface, it seems like a total no-brainer, right? A project that should have been done ages ago. But, as you're about to find out, this little 9-mile gap is one of the toughest, most challenging places on the entire planet to build, well, anything.
Okay, so let's start by digging into that 9-mile gap. Because the funny thing is, the distance itself, that's not actually the problem. Not really. Yeah, 8.8 miles sounds like a lot, but get this. The longest bridge in the world, over in China, is more than 100 miles long. We have built structures more than 11 times the length of this gap. So clearly, distance isn't the deal breaker. The real challenge, the true monster of a problem, is hidden deep beneath the waves. But before we get into all of the nightmare scenarios, let's talk about why anyone would even bother. Let's talk about the dream. Because the motivation to finally link these two continents is incredibly powerful, and it's driven by some seriously huge ambitions. So, what's the biggest reason for this dream? Shocker. It's money. A whole lot of it. We're talking about trade between Europe and Africa worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, just imagine being able to move goods on high-speed freight trains instead of slow boats or pricey planes. The economic boom for both sides would be absolutely colossal. But the vision, it goes way beyond just shipping containers. Think about this. A 5.5-hour high-speed train ride from Madrid all the way to Casablanca. Imagine the explosion in tourism, the mixing of cultures, connecting labor markets, and doing it all in a way that's way better for the planet than flying or shipping. It would be a total game changer. But every grand dream eventually slams into a wall of reality. And in this case, the reality is that a bridge is considered pretty much impossible, which is why engineers, pretty early on, pivoted to a totally different idea, a subterranean one, a tunnel. So here's problem number one, the showstopper. The water here is unbelievably deep. It plunges down to 3,000 feet. To put that in perspective, you could sink 2.5 Empire State Buildings, one on top of the other, and they'd still be completely underwater. Building bridge piers that deep, it's just beyond anything our technology can do right now, not even close. And as if the insane depth wasn't enough of a problem, there's this. The strait sits directly on top of a massive tectonic fault line. It's literally where the African and Eurasian continental plates are grinding against each other. This is an active earthquake zone. In fact, this is the very faults that caused the catastrophic 1755 Lisbon earthquake that flattened the city. Building anything here is a monumental risk. Okay, so a bridge is out. What about a tunnel then? Well, engineers have been thinking about that since the 1930s. But back then, they ran into yet another wall, literally. The rock they found under the seabed was so incredibly hard that the drilling technology of the day just couldn't get through it. Impossible. And that brings us to the modern plan. Engineers came up with a really clever workaround. They said, okay, what if we don't try to cross at the narrowest, deepest, most difficult point? Instead, they planned a longer route that dives deep under the seabed, avoiding the worst of the deep water and the terrible geology. And trust me, this is not just some idea on a napkin. The plan is serious and it's incredibly detailed. It's a nearly 39-kilometer tunnel system. It would be one of the deepest underwater tunnels ever attempted, going down 475 meters below sea level. The design would be a lot like the Channel connecting the UK and France, 2 main tunnels for trains and a smaller service tunnel running between them. And they know all this because of decades of painstaking geological research. They've used these crazy deep-sea drilling ships to pull up thousands of samples from the seafloor. And what they found? Well, it's an engineering nightmare. a chaotic mix of super hard rock next to layers of really unstable, mushy clay. A nightmare, for sure, but one they now believe they can finally conquer with modern tunnel boring machines. So the engineering is ridiculously hard, but maybe possible. But you know what? The biggest obstacles might not be the rock and the water. They might be money, politics, and, get this, orcas. First up, let's talk about the price tag. The latest estimates put the cost somewhere between 6 and 9 billion euros. That is a staggering amount of money. It requires huge political will and major financial backing from Spain, from Morocco, and probably from the European Union too.
And even if you find the cash, you have to navigate the politics, which are messy. You've got long-running tensions between Spain and Morocco over territory. You've got the UK, which controls Gibraltar and has a say. Then there are really sensitive modern issues, like concerns over migration. And you have to figure all this out without disrupting the 100,000-plus ships that use this critical waterway every single year.
And if that wasn't enough, you have to layer on another major challenge: good governance. A report citing the African Development Bank points out that corruption and mismanagement are huge risks for megaprojects on the continent. So making sure that 9 billion euros goes exactly where it's supposed to, that's a massive challenge all by itself. And just when you think you've heard every possible problem, there's one you definitely didn't see coming: orcas. Seriously, for reasons scientists are still trying to figure out, a specific group of orcas in the strait has started ramming and even sinking boats. It's happened almost 700 times. Now imagine trying to run a multi-billion euro construction project with that going on. It's just one more unbelievable, unique twist. So with all that, earthquakes, deep water, politics, angry orcas, it seems almost insurmountable. But after decades of delays and false starts, something big has just happened that might finally give this project the push it needs to become a reality. Check out this timeline. This dream has been floating around since 1979, a long time. But in 2023, things suddenly got real. Both governments officially relaunched the project, and this time with a very specific deadline in mind: 2030. So why 2030? Well, there's this little event called the FIFA World Cup, which is being co-hosted by, you guessed it, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. All of a sudden, having a way to shuttle millions of fans between the continents has given this old dream a powerful new sense of urgency. So that's where we are. A project that was born from a simple question has turned into this absolute epic, a saga of incredible engineering, tangled geopolitics, and massive ambition. With the World Cup looming, the political will might finally be strong enough to overcome the deep water, the shifting tectonic plates, and all the complex human drama. But the question is, will it become that shining symbol of connection for the 21st century? Or will it remain just a dream deferred? I guess only time will tell.